What's going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the VIX, the SPY, the triple Qs, and my expectations for the upcoming trading weeks. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, right now we are looking at the VIX daily time frame, and something very interesting is happening here. For the past 2 weeks, every single Monday, the VIX has spiked towards the upside. So here, for example, this was a Friday, January 24th. We get through the weekend, we gap up that following Monday, right? Here, same thing. January 31st, this was a Friday. We get through the weekend, we gap up that following Monday or, this past Monday. And so I think that's very interesting. And I think it's safe to assume that we could be looking at the same scenario this upcoming Monday. Now, it's not something that's guaranteed or anything like that. It's just speculation. It's just it's just a clear observation based off what we've seen in the past or for the past 2, 3 weeks. And so another thing I want to point out to you guys is every time the VIX gets within this 14, $15 range or 15 strike range, we see a recovery back towards the upside, either a recovery or we see a gap back towards the upside. So here, we get as low as about 14.5, 14.3, we start recovering back towards the upside. Here, same thing, 14.8, 15, we start going back towards the upside. Here, same thing, here, same thing as well. So everyone's screaming bullish to the moon. We're going to see all-time highs. SPY is going to 650. I'm looking at the VIX. I'm telling my Discord members to be careful. The VIX is in a very dangerous area. And this is why you look at everything, all right? Every single thing. For the past month or so, every time the VIX gets within 14, between 14 and 15, it spikes back towards the upside. And so I do have a target of 19, between 19 and 22. I do think the VIX is going to continue back towards the upside from here, possibly hit the top of the symmetrical triangle at around the $20 strike range, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. And so in our last video, we talked about how our Discord bot alerted to us that institutions were loading up on VIX calls, specifically VIX calls with a strike of 27, expiration March 18, 2025, and a total premium of 1.28 million. Now, I don't know about 27, but we are very illiquid back towards the $25 range or 25 strike range, right? So we do need to mitigate this area at some point in time in the futures. And I do imagine that it's going to happen in February. And I told you guys multiple times that I am bearish for the month of February until the market proves me wrong. And so right now, things are going according to plan. I do have to say that I do think that this drop is the actual drop that I'm looking forward to. Okay. Now, I'm not a perma bear or anything like that. I don't care what direction the market goes, guys. But I was anticipating a drop, and I think this is the drop that we are looking for. All right. And so the VIX, clear sign that we could continue to see more upside. But maybe that's not enough. Maybe you need more. And so we look at the Nasdaq. All right, we look at the Nasdaq and we look on a daily time frame, and we have us an evening star pattern. And in case you don't know what an evening star pattern is, right here. All right, off and uptrend, clear as day. And so you have an evening star pattern here. So this is a bearish signal. You go to the ES, you see the same thing, evening star pattern. Now, remember what I was saying in the last few videos on how I don't like where the ES is. Here in this area, I hated this. I let you guys know this multiple times that I hated that the ES was in this area right here. This is where Jerome Powell originally sold off the market. Here, I mean, you got this, DeepSeek AI news that came in. Here, you got the tariff news. And once again, I told you guys in the last video, do not be surprised if we get more news once we get within this range. And boom, we got exactly that. We got more tariff news. We got all types of news that came in on Friday. So it's very interesting. It's very crazy just how convenient that news came in, right? When we were just about to break to all-time highs, boom, that news comes in. It's very crazy. So I told you guys in the last video, don't be surprised if you start getting news within this area. And that's exactly what happened. And so we look at the SPY, and that's really what I want to look at here. You look at the SPY, and we're holding a pretty key level here. We really want to hold 600, but specifically, we really want to see 598 hold. All right, we want to see 598 hold. All right, if we don't hold 598, we've seen this happen plenty of times before. If you're new to this channel, every time we break below 598, we see a pretty dramatic drop towards the downside. Here, you broke below 598, you had it as low as about 579. Here, you retested it. You broke below it again. You had it as low as about 576 towards this gap fill right here. Here, you did it again. You headed towards about 594, 593, give or take. I mean, every time you break below that level, you see some decent downside here. And so we zoom in, and as you guys can see, we not only have a bearish engulfing candle, but we have a evening star pattern on the SPY, which is a bearish pattern. So I do think that it's very much possible that we see a gap down this coming Monday. Okay, this is a very strong bearish pattern. And mind you, bearish patterns don't have to play out right away. So I can be absolutely wrong when it comes to Monday, but I do think this is going to play out, possibly for CPI data, if anything. Okay, maybe we see, one more bounce towards the upside, and then we see that breakdown completely. It's also important to note that we are creating lower highs here. I mean, right here, you have your high here, and then you have a lower high here, and then you have another lower high here. Now, I'm not going to consider this a lower high just yet until we break below 598, but it is something you want to pay attention to, all right, when it comes to the spot. And so I do imagine that at some point in time, if this move continues, that we're going to start heading towards this gap fill all the way at 584. Remember that one video I talked to you guys about where institutions were loading up those 579 puts on the SPY. Our Discord bot alerted to us that institutions were in 579 puts. And so I do imagine that those are the puts that's going to take us all the way to 584. So we look at the triple Qs. Same thing on the triple Qs, except you have a bearish engulfing pattern on the triple Qs. We talked about the symmetrical triangle in the last video, and triple Qs has yet again rejected the top of the symmetrical triangle. Not only did it reject the top of the symmetrical triangle, you go to the weekly time frame and it rejected this trend right here. All right. Let's actually zoom out a little bit more. It rejected this trend right here as well, hit it like right on the dot. So when people tell you trends don't work or trend lines don't work, send them to my videos. I'll show them. I'll show them it works. All right. But other than that, you rejected not only the top of the symmetrical triangle, but you rejected this weekly trend line. So I think that's very interesting. You have a bearish engulfing candle. And so you want to see the triple Qs hold 520. After 520, you're looking at a move towards 518. And then after that, you're looking at 515. But overall, you just want to see the triple Qs really hold 510, right where this area is. You've seen a rejection here every time. This is where bulls really need to step in, and bulls are very much present at that 510 area. Okay, so I mean, right here you see them step in, here you see them step in, here as well. So every time we get to that 510 range, we see bulls step in. We break below 510 and hold, then we're heading towards 503, and that is where you really want to see things hold. All right, you give up 503, pack your bags, you're going to the Diddy party. All right, it's over with for you. Okay, or maybe you into that stuff. I don't know, but regardless, you really want to pay attention to the triple Qs. You just want to pay attention to the overall market here. Me personally, I'm going to really watch the VIX. I think that's going to tell you everything you need to know, because everyone's screaming all-time highs, and all these YouTubers, Twitter, whatever, they're all screaming all-time highs. Here we come. And I'm like, is no one paying attention to the VIX? Like, is no one looking at the VIX at all? I just think that's very interesting. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. But the VIX is a great indicator for you not to get trapped, for lack of better wording here. So, yeah, thought that was very interesting. You look at the Russell, the IWM. IWM, you're breaking back below this rising wedge pattern. This is a bearish pattern. Not only that, but you gave up 227. You broke below 227. Your 225 is probably your last line of defense before you start seeing a move towards 223. And then after that, you're looking at a move towards 220. You give up 219. That's where things get really ugly for the Russell. But yeah, not looking good in regards to the Russell as well. I mean, you're below very key zones. You see here, you broke down, you retested on Friday, and then you formed this doji pattern. So I do think the Russell is going to continue back towards the downside from here. Now, there's a lot of turbulence in this area, so I do imagine that it's possible, if we do get a gap down, I do imagine that's going to be necessary for us to really break below these guys right here, because this is a lot to break through. This is a lot. All right, so um, be on the lookout for the Russell to break further down, or even the overall market. And so we look at Bitcoin. And if I sound like sick, that's because I actually am sick. I'm getting over a fever, so I do apologize. But yeah, Bitcoin, 4 hour time frame, symmetrical triangle, you're breaking below that. I do think the short term projected move is around 94, 93K, but I do think this is the start of more up downside for Bitcoin. But overall, 88K, that's your key level that you really want to pay attention to when it comes to Bitcoin. You break below 88K, that's where things get really ugly. You're going to see domestic violence that you've never seen in your life. All right, your mom and dad can't even top it. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Until it gets back above 103K, I just have nothing for Bitcoin. And so overall, guys, I just want you guys to be very careful. If anything, if you're gonna pay attention to anything, all right. I know, people have their thoughts on the VIX. You can't plot the VIX. I've never had that issue. I don't know who's saying that. That's a hive mind mindset. I don't know who's saying that, but when I plot the VIX, it's on the money. It's on the money. So I don't know who's telling you guys that you can't plot the VIX. I know it's a volatility index, but still, this thing follows rules. It clearly follows rules. Every time it gets between 15 and 14, write this down if you need to. Every time it gets between 15 and 14 for the past month or so, it spikes towards the upside. All right. Every Monday so far, or at least for the past 2, 3 weeks, every Monday it spikes towards the upside. All right. If we break out a symmetrical triangle, chances are we're heading towards 25. All right. And keep in mind, once again, write this down. Institutions are in 27 calls on the VIX. Not only are they in 27 calls for the VIX, but they are also in 579 puts on the SPY. You do the math there. All right, you do the math. But other than that, that's really all I have. I will make another video tomorrow going more in depth into other stocks and things. But I just really want to bring this to you guys' attention. Really pay attention to VIX. Don't take my word for it. Look it up for yourself. Every Monday, this thing has spiked towards the upside. Every time it gets into that range, it spikes towards the upside. And obviously, if the VIX is going to spike towards the upside, the market is going to do the opposite of that. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you guys think about, once again, let me know what you guys think about. Once again, we hit this Jerome Powell's area, and I said this in the last video. Every time we hit this area, news comes in. Right here, deep sea AI news. Here, tariff news. Here, more tariff news. It's crazy timing. It's such crazy timing. I've been trading for like 10 plus years, and I still find that amazing just how crazy timing news has when it comes to the market. I said in the last video, do not be surprised we get news in this area. Do not be surprised, and that's exactly what happened. Let me know what you guys think about that. But in the Discord, real quick, this past week, actually past few weeks has been absolutely amazing. Really appreciate you guys. Um, this past few weeks, Chris has made about 4%. It's absolutely insane. So we've been killing it in the Discord. We have slow weeks, we have fast weeks. Other than that, but one thing I want to bring to you guys' attention is that if you are looking for a quick come up or some like type of lottery ticket or something like that, please don't join my Discord. I promise you, I don't need it. All right. I do not need people like that in my Discord. You shouldn't join anybody's Discord with that mindset. You shouldn't even be trading with that mindset. Why? Because you're greedy. You're greedy. You're going to blow your account. Chances are you've already blown your account multiple times. We all been there, right? We've all had those greedy moments. But I want, more disciplined people that even if you are greedy, at least be willing to listen, if anything. I get it. It's a lot of money you can make within the stock market, but please don't bring that attitude in the Discord, because typically when people have that type of attitude, they have it's a pretty crappy attitude towards everybody else when they lose a trade, or when they lose money in general, because you are going to lose in trading. There's no perfect trader out there. I promise you, it's not. All right. So if you have that mindset, please don't join the Discord. Don't join anybody's Discord. You shouldn't be trading. But if you have the a disciplined mindset, or you have a mindset that you're willing to learn, you're willing to understand, you understand that you're not going to be a millionaire overnight, then feel free to join our Discord. Discord link will be in the description below. And other than that, that's all I have. Until the next video, traders, have you a good one.